In this video, we are going to accomplish the same task we just did, only using a bag instead of a list. So this time we're going to have an object called quiz score bag, and we're going to assume that that's of type bag interface. Now, we don't have a great way to iterate through a bag, right? For a list, we can use a for loop to go through all of the elements in our list. But for a bag, we don't really have a way to do that. The only way that we really know to go through a bag to get things out of a bag is to remove them, right? We don't have a way to just kind of peek inside the bag, really. We could get back the array and filter through that, but let's think about a different way of doing this, right? So for the other methods, again, the only thing we can do is remove things from the bag. But we don't want to remove everything from the bag. We just want to remove the smallest element from the bag. So oftentimes there's lots of data structures that don't have a way to allow you to look through everything that's in it. Stacks and queues are examples like that as well that we'll learn about later on. Oftentimes with a data structure like that, what you need to do is you need to have another kind of temporary data structure to hold things while you're going through the current data structure and then rebuild the current one that you're working with. So we're going to assume not only that we have quiz score bag, but also that we have an object called temp bag that is also of type bag interface. Okay, and this is going to be a temporary placeholder data structure that we can again use to rebuild our original bag if we destroy it. Okay, so we're going to start out with the same approach that we did with the list, right? So just like with our list, if our bag is empty, there's nothing to remove. So we want to first make sure that our quiz score bag is not empty, and we only want to execute this code if there is something in the bag. And then we can, again, start out the same way. So we can find the lowest score from the bag, but instead of getting the element out of position 1, we'll just take it from anywhere, right? Because we don't know what the lowest score is, and items in our bag are unordered. So we'll just remove any item that's in there. We'll take it out. And we don't need to keep track of its position because it doesn't have a position because it's in a bag. Okay, so we'll start this kind of the same way with taking one score out of the bag and assuming it's the minimum, but it's different because we don't have a position, right? Okay, so now, instead of a for loop, what we can do is we can use a while loop, and we can say, well, as long as the quiz score bag is not empty now, let's keep removing something. So let's remove the next score. And then just like we did for a list, we can compare that to the current lowest score. So if that current score is less than the lowest score, then guess what? The lowest score, that's the new lowest score. Okay, so this will help us find the lowest score, but what will happen at the end of this code? The bag will be empty. Everything has been removed from the bag, right? We're just taking things out, comparing them to the minimum, and that will be successful in finding the minimum, but it's going to take everything out of the bag. So what we can do is we can put everything in a temporary bag to hold it while we find the minimum and then load back up our current bag. You can kind of think about it like, let's say you're looking for one particular can of soup in your whole big grocery bag. Well, you can take everything out and stack it somewhere else, find the can of soup you're looking for, and then load everything back up into the bag to take those groceries away. Okay, so what I'm going to do is whenever I remove an item, I'm also going to add it to my temp bag. So I'll add the initial thing that I remove, and then I will also add the current score each time I look at it. So now at the end of this code, the end of my while loop, I have found the lowest score. My quiz score bag is empty, but my temp bag holds all of the scores. So what I need to do now is I need to take everything out of the temp bag and put it back into the quiz score bag. So now I can say, well, my temp bag is not empty. Take something out of it and put it back into the quiz score bag. So this will essentially transfer all the contents from my temporary bag into my quiz score bag. Now, of course, there's one more thing to do, right? I found the minimum, my lowest score, but the whole task I was asked to do was to remove that score from the bag. So the last thing I need to do is go back into my quiz score bag, but now instead of just removing any old score, I'm going to specifically remove the lowest score. Because remember, that's my second remove option for a bag is to remove a particular item. Okay. So this is an example of accomplishing the same task that we did, removing the lowest score from a group of scores, only using a bag instead of a list. Key differences with the bag are that our items are unordered, so we don't have positions to access them through, and we also don't really have a great way to iterate over those items and look at everything in our bag. So if we want to go through the whole bag, really the way we can do it is to remove everything from the bag, add it to a temporary data structure, and then once we're done with our task, add everything back into the bag. And then in our case, we also did one final remove.